I'm still testing gut, and we can go through the reasons why, but I've just seen in my practice clinically how that can be one of the biggest game changers, if not the biggest game changer when it comes to fertility health and even balancing hormones. Bringing it back to gut health, I'm actually a big advocate of testing the gut instantly, whether or not they actually have specific oh my gosh, like issues with their gut health, right? So meaning like bloating, gas, constipation, diarrhea. They don't have to have those for me to be signaling we need to treat the gut. They can get sick often. They can have brittle hair and nails. They can, have low fatigue or brain fog. And honestly, even if they don't have any of those and they feel great, I'm still testing gut, and we can go through the reasons why. But I've just seen in my practice clinically how that can be one of the biggest game changers, if not the biggest game changer when it comes to fertility health and even balancing hormones.
So we do want to dive into the gut, and you are a champion of gut health and of how it connects to hormone health and fertility. So thank you for that. And thank you for all the wonderful education that you've been sharing. We talked about symptoms, but how does gut health specifically influence fertility and then overall hormone health?
So loaded question, right? Very loaded, but I'll keep it, again, I'm repeating myself, as simplistic as possible, because I feel like we could spend a whole hour talking about this one piece alone. Gut health impacts it. I kind of think of it in categories, right? So the first one being inflammation, right? So a lot of people have underlying inflammation, specifically with the gut. Like the amount of times I test the gut health and I see inflammation come back, usually that is through the marker of calprotectin. It's just astronomical. So one is inflammation. I kind of tell people, I'm like, if your system is inflamed in any way, whether it's your gut or, you injured yourself and your wrist is inflamed, like your body is reacting to something. And if it's on a larger scale, specifically something with the gut that's just so integral in so many different places of our system, that is going to be definitely impacting fertility, right? Because from anywhere from just having a good healthy gut, because then the inflammation in the gut's going to lead into microbiome imbalance, which can lead to susceptibility to infection, and again, like the cascading effects are very, very big. They're it can continue, they all just can kind of circle into each other, so it can get kind of confusing. But I also think of implantation, right? If you are inflamed, your body's not going to implant an embryo into your uterus and then grow this living being, right? Because your body's like, I'm too busy dealing with this inflammation that I got going on. I don't have time to also figure out and downgrade the immune system and make sure that this new life is healthy, right? Which kind of leads into my next piece, which is going to be your immune system. 70% of your immune system takes place in the gut, right? If people are listening to your podcast, they probably know a lot of these things already, but 70%, that's huge. I don't think people understand the role your immune system plays in implantation and pregnancy. So really short version, your embryo that's created is part you, part your partner. That is foreign tissue. And your body is trained to attack foreign tissue. So if your immune system isn't on the right track, or it's not optimal, right, it is going to say, we don't want this foreign object, we don't want this foreign tissue. Again, no implantation to occur. Another one is just if your gut isn't optimal, and in layman's terms, there's a term called leaky gut, right, which essentially is when the tight junctions are not as tight as they used to be. I kind of just say that you're not going to be absorbing not only nutrients properly, but also we're letting toxins in the system. And that's also going to be an issue, because a lot of absorption in the gut of macronutrients, are crucial when we're talking about building blocks of hormones, right?
What's great about what you just said and all of that is that all of those things can be fixed, you know, and that's really encouraging. And so there are some problems that are harder to fix, obviously, but a lot of these issues can be solved.